everyone, Gail from Ticket to Anywhere here with another edition of Friday Fragment. Oh, sorry. This is a weekly meme hosted by James over at booksheetclub.blogspot.com. Anyway, the URL on my blog if you're interested. And you should be interested because a lot of great people do great readings during today. And if you head over to James's blog, then you get to go and see them all. Yeah, it's early. Still haven't fully had my coffee yet. See? Coffee. Have it here. Yeah, coffee. Anywho, today my choice of book is another from my top 12 list. It is going to be from The Tension of Opposites by Christina McBride, which is a book that I say should come with a warning label. Do not read if you have to be up at all the next day or do anything during the day. I started this book at like midnight or later, or I forget when I started it, but it was really late, and it was past my bedtime when I started it, and that was partly my own fault, but I only meant to read a chapter or two. But then, next thing I know, I look over at the clock, and it's like an hour before I have to go to work, and yeah, not a fun day at work that next day. But it was well worth the time just being up for it, because this book was really amazing. If you haven't heard of Tension of Opposites, it is the story of Tessa and Noelle. Noelle, 2 years before the book began, she was kidnapped, and right before the start of the book, she actually is coming home. And Tessa was Noelle's best friend, and they were like two peas in a pod. They hung out together, spent all their moments together, and then when Noelle disappeared, Tessa was kind of left adrift, and she didn't know what to do with herself, because how could she enjoy her life if her best friend is just off into the wind somewhere. And so now that Noelle is home, Tessa is actually trying to figure out what to do with her life now that she can actually finally move forward because Noelle is safe, and also try and do what she can to try and help her friend. But she's kind of at a loss as to what to do because she just doesn't understand what happened during those few years, and Noelle isn't actually being very talkative, but then it's very understandable why she isn't. The scene that I'm going to read from you is actually coming from page 132. I found it really hard to choose any one scene from the book, so I decided to fall onto the page 132 test. After wandering for half the period, I stood in a different hall on the opposite side of the school. I was hunched down a bit, with my fingers wrapped around the body of the camera hanging from my neck, prepared to duck away from the window in the classroom door if anyone looked my way. I dangled myself so the teacher, who was standing in front of the classroom running algebraic equations on the board, couldn't see me. Only the back 2 rows had a chance, but no one was paying attention. Several people stared blankly toward the front of the room. One guy wrapped a string around his pointer finger and pressed on the tip, which turned a deep shade of purple. And then there was Elle, right between a sleeping lump wearing a hoodie and an empty seat. I had a feeling that I was more aware of her surroundings than she was. I didn't think she noticed anything, not the void next to her, not the line of drool that had to be oozing from the mouth of the guy taking his midday nap. She was completely focused on whatever was streaming from her mind down her arm and through her pen to stain the pages of a spiral notebook. The spiral notebook, I assumed. Because of the way she was writing, one hand moving at a cramping pace, the other clenched into a fist. I ached to read every last page of that notebook, to know the details so I'd have a better idea of what to say, what not to say, and how to help make her feel like she was really, truly, all the way safe. I raised the camera to my eye and zoomed in on Elle's face. Her lips moved a little, like they were testing the words as she wrote them, making sure they were true. I focused, depressed the button, and snapped. I knew the picture would be a little grainy because of the glass that separated us, but I didn't care. I had her now. Elle. Home. And that is my section of Tension of Opposites for today's edition of Friday Fragments. I hope you enjoyed it, and come back next week for another edition.